Miniature Market has thousands of board games at discounted prices. Click the direct link below to see all of those discounted games. Hello my friends, today we're going to be going to outer space on a ship, but we're going to be going there for a cruise. You know, I love cruises, going out on the boats and the waters and doing excursions and having days at sea. Well, it's like that, except we're going to be doing this in space. We're going to be going around doing all sorts of crazy things. Today we're taking a look at Galactic Cruise. This is a heavyweight Euro game. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. In Galactic Cruise, the main thing you're doing in this game is building ships with cool rooms and having guests come in there. And you might be building ships with like a VR deck at the top there, or an aerial stunt deck, or a climb zone, or a kids zone, or a game show, or a karaoke, or an opera theater. And you're building these ships and attracting certain clients, like ones that like family-friendly oriented things, or relaxing, or adventurous. And you're trying to get the right people on the right ships, go on some voyages that are multiple days and score lots of points. That's basically what you're doing in this game. Now, it's a worker placement game, so you're going to be placing your workers at one of these different buildings and taking actions. And a couple of concepts here is, well, you can bump workers and other players' workers, and they get a bonus for that, a type of income that they may get, and they might even have upgraded those types of incomes. You'll also see the gears here. These are technologies that people have invested in, and if you're at a certain spot, you can also use an action that is next to it by paying the person who has that technology to get over to that building. So you're not limited to just taking one of the two actions or both of them at a space that you're in. You can actually take actions to spaces that are adjacent to you if you have the money and you want to pay other players that have developed technologies. So those are some of the twists to the worker placement here. But you're doing all sorts of different types of actions. Like you're gaining blueprints that you'll then build into your ship. You're getting the ship and building it together. You're gathering different resources. Well, because you're going to need food for the crew and the guests that are on the ship. You're going to need fuel to fly it and things like that. And there's an interesting sort of silo mechanism where you're able to gain resources by pulling them down. But you can also slide them all the way to the top. It's a way of getting money and prestige. And prestige is great in this game because it helps you get things that you are in a pinch for and need. And it's a good way to make this game not super tight. Now, each player has their own board where you're going to be managing those resources in the lower right and noticing that those gears, the technologies actually block spots. And so you have to develop technologies to give yourself more or a higher maximum for certain resources that you'll need for better and bigger ships. But the game is really about scoring points in all different ways from your ships and making rooms that people want to come to. Like the climb zone is an adventurous room showing orange, and we have some orange guests in there. So hey, it's going to cost less to advertise and to get them there, and they're going to help you score more points because those are the types of things those people want to do, and that's a lot of what you're doing in this game. Now, in the upper right there, you'll see the next cockpit I was about to make, and that's going to give you 5 points for every upgraded worker you've gotten. And so every time I send that ship off, I'm going to get that bonus. So a lot of times you're looking for bonuses on ships, on cockpits, for what your strategy is in that game. And as you build ships, those bonuses sort of cascade because a lot of those have to do with every ship you've already built. And so you're going to get more and more points every time you launch ships. Almost like an engine building of points there. At a very high level, that's pretty much it. Gathering resources, using money, advertising, building ships, advertising for the different guests, getting the right guests on there, scoring points. That's the main crux of the game. There's a ton more going on here, but that should give you a good idea of what the game's about. All right, so that was a very high level. There is a ton going on in this thing. I think the rulebook was like 42 pages or something like that. And so let me just set my sort of preferences and biases up front so that if you haven't watched a lot of my videos, my sweet spot in games is like 60 minutes. And you know, if something's very tight and very streamlined, it gives you a ton of depth. I'm all about depth to complexity. I love having tons of depth. How much depth can you give me without making it just bloated, right? Now this is a heavyweight Euro, so this is not typically my sweet spot. However, there are plenty of heavyweight Euros that I do love. Like Nucleum, for example, was my strategy game of the year a couple years ago. That's a 3.5, 4-hour game that is extremely heavy. Lots of mechanisms, and I love it. There are some heavy games that I will love. Length of games, I tend to like that 60-minute-ish mark, but there's nothing stopping me. One of my favorite games is Nothing Personal. It's a negotiation game that goes 3 to 4 hours with my group, and I'm okay with that. For games that give me the experience that really is memorable, I'm okay with long games. I'm okay with heavy games. But the longer and heavier they are, they need to really stand out of the crowd for me, for example. And so those are sort of my biases. So with that coming in, this is not one of the games that is, going to be like right in my wheelhouse, right? And so I have no problem, learning the game and playing it and having fun, but is it something I want to come back to? That's what we're going to talk about. So Galactic Cruise, let's talk about first. Oh my goodness, beautiful and clean. Ian O'Toole, one of the best in the business of just making complex things just look beautiful, make sense, and just graphically it makes sense. It looks good, and he did a great job here. It just looks awesome. This is a thematic Euro. I like that because it helps teach the game. It's hey, we're gathering fuel, and that fuel you need because we're going to go on a certain amount of days. The more days we're going to go on the cruise, the more fuel you need. The more people you're going to have on the ship, the more food you're going to need. Like it all kind of sort of makes sense, right? But then even like the going to the workers and using other people's technologies. And then advertising for the cruise, and it costs more to advertise to get people that aren't really into the things that are on your ship, right? You have to advertise heavier for them. And then once you're on your ship, it's kind of like advertising for excursions. To use this room and do this thing, you want to advertise, but you can advertise less to the ones that generally like that, like the adventurous ones, right? Or the family people, or the relaxing ones. And all of that it's cool because it makes sense thematically, and it is a cool theme if you think about it. I like using others' technologies for actions. I think that's very clever. The nice little twist on the worker placement where I'm going to a spot, I'm going to do 2 actions. I could do the same one twice or 2 different ones, but I can pay someone who has a technology that links me to the building next door. And I just think that's cool. It's a way to do more actions without necessarily bumping people, but also, it's a cool thing. I like it. The bumping in this, bumping is not new anymore in worker placement games. Most worker placement games have bumping, but this one's cool with it. As you get bumped, you're getting a bonus of your choice, and some of those bonuses you're upgrading, right? And so it works out really well in that hand. And so you're trying to go where people want to bump you because it actually helps you to bump, because then you get the bonus, and then you get to place it back out without having to call all your workers back, which is never a great thing to do. I like that the technologies that you have, all those gears on your board, they sort of limit your resource maxes. And so, oh shoot, I'm getting bigger and bigger ships. I need more and more fuel, more and more food, but I need to actually build these technologies, which cost money to put out there. It's going to get me money as people use my technologies, but the short term it's going to cost me money. And now I need to get those technologies out there so I can actually get to the maximum of the resources that I need to build bigger ships that are going to be worth more and more points. So I thought that I like that. That's a cool aspect. The bumped workers things, as I mentioned, it works really good, and I like that you get to choose the income that you get there. Now this game has a bit of an economic aspect. It's you're dealing with money, you're dealing with resources, but it never felt too tight. I don't like it in games when economic games are just so tight. You're just barely scraping by, and it's a dollar means so much. And in this game, sure, you're going to be tight on money sometimes. Sure, you're going to be tight on advertising other times. But I love that there's that reputation track. There's different ways and effects for you to move up there. And I love that you can move back to get something that you need in a pinch. And I think it's so clever, and it just takes the tightness and I can't do what I want to do, and takes the fun out of it and gives you fun. It's a trade-off. Hey, I'm going to go down this reputation track. I have to go down pretty far to get this much money, but I'm going to do it so I can do it. Now, I can't remember what game. There was a game that you would basically spend points to go back to get something, and it wasn't, you'd go back a certain amount depending on what you wanted. Oh, I think it was called Glow. I think I finally remembered it. Last night I couldn't remember it when we were playing this. I think it was called Glow, where you go back a certain amount depending on how many things you want. So I thought that was really clever, and it keeps the game not too tight, which I loved. The resource track, a storage silo, was also a cool concept, where you're going down different ways for the resources. Sometimes you won't be able to make it go down as much as you want because you need more, but make them go down, and then you could also make them go all the way back up to the top of the silo, giving other people more resources to gather, but giving you a ton of money. The further it's gone down, the more money you'll get, and also reputation. I thought that was a really cool way, because too many times in games it's how do I get money? I got to do this step A to step B to step C, and I can finally get $1 that I can do one thing with. No, this is you know what? I'm going to gain some resources. Great. I'm going to fill this thing back up the top, get a bunch of money and a reputation. And it really gives you a good influx on one action. Very streamlined. I like that. It cut right to the chase there. I love that the ships attract certain types of guests. And so, hey, you've got the crazy jumpy thing and all the stuff I showed you in the thing, like the game show room and certain rooms are you're going to need to advertise to get people on your ship. But the ones that like those things, you advertise less. And then once they're on the ship, to advertise for them to do those things, you get to advertise them less if they're in the right ship, with the right rooms, with the things that they like, relaxing versus family versus, adventurous. And they're going to score you more points for that. And I think I like that aspect of it. There's like engine building of points because you're finding these cockpits, and these cockpits are going to give you some important scoring. Like, hey, five points for every advanced worker that you've unlocked, right? It's like, okay, good, that's good. But these are going to formulate your strategy because as you go on the game and you're building more and more ships, these bonuses as they score are going to be for like all the ships that you've built. And so like you score points, you build a ship, you make it go, you make it come back, you score some points, you build another one and then another one. And then like every time you go on a voyage, you should be getting more and more points because all these bonuses start like chalking up because they're all based upon all of your ships that you have. And I think that's really cool. Kind of reminded me a little bit like Colosseum, the old game where like you put on a show and the next time you put on a show and you're typically getting more and more points each time you put on a show. Here, like every time you go on something, you should be getting more and more points. And I think that's cool. Also, the player aid book, you've seen these a lot of heavy Euro games. You have your own book that you can flip through. Well done there. Overall, I enjoyed the game. Anything I didn't like about the game? There isn't anything that I like actively disliked about the game. I enjoyed it. A few things is new players might not realize that advertisements are still needed once you have them on the ship to get them to do things to get you more points. And you might be like, hey, I spent all my advertising to get them on the ship. I don't really need advertising right now because I'm not buying another ship yet. I'm not going to be filling it up. I've got it filled. And then you realize, oh crap, I actually need advertising because I need to make more points. Now granted, the person teaching this should do a good job of saying, hey, this is important. You still need advertising to really maximize your points once you're in the air. Once you know that, you're fine. But new players, you can get caught up with that and really miss out on a lot of points if you don't know that's there. And there's a lot to keep track of. So when you're learning this game, like you just might not know. If you're teaching the game, just highlight that even right before they launch or something. You see them getting close to launching, or they're putting people in the ship. Just remind them that. New players, that might trip you up. Another thing is, it's a longer, heavier Euro. It says 90 minutes on the box to like close to 3 hours. It's longer than that, for sure, even if you know what you're doing, even if everyone's experienced. It's at least an hour per player, and that's when you know what you're doing. Probably even a little bit more than that. And with four, multiple players, there's downtime, especially if you're playing a 4-player game, you're gonna wait for 3 other turns, and let's say it's mid-game, 3/4 way through, every player is advancing maybe multiple ships and doing all these steps. There can be some downtime there, especially on the higher player counts. Usually bigger, I don't know, I tend to like these bigger Euros at lower player counts anyway. And so that's it. So hey, you should know what you're getting into. It's a big, long game, at least an hour per player, probably more. Lots of setup, lots of teardown. But if you have the time and you have the energy, it's a good game. Now, where does this land? At the beginning, gave you my biases and such. I'm like, well, what do I think about it? This game is getting a ton of buzz. And many people have texted me and said, I played Galactic Cruise for the first time last night. It's already in my top 10 of all time. Or it's already my new favorite Euro. Or it's all these people that I trust told me this, which is why I wanted to play this. Because I'm like, okay, if that many people saying that's good. Yeah. I don't like it as much as all those people did. I don't like this as much as, say, Nucleum or Lisboa or some of these other really heavy ones that I do really love. I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's not anything I actively dislike, but again, for a game that's this long and this hard to teach people, that's this much work, and that is basically going to be an entire afternoon, it has to really, really, really stand out. Now, this does stand out, but does it stand out as much as what everyone else is thinking and feeling about this? For me, personally, it's not. So if you're not a heavyweight Euro player, if the theme interests you, play it. I'm sure you'll have a good time. It isn't one that I'm going to want to hold on to and play a lot like some of these other bigger Euros. For me, it didn't do that. And I can't put my finger on why. All I can just say, it didn't give me that feeling where I'm like, oh, I don't care how long it is. I don't care how hard it is to teach. We're playing this today, and I can't wait to play it again. That's not how I felt after playing this, right? So it's It's good. It's solid. I can see why people love it. I don't love it as much as other people, but it is solid. And this has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, and helping you find the next one you love. Game Toppers upgrades every game you play, being the one table to rule them all with Game Toppers, leg kits, dining covers, premium game mats, and more. They'll be launching their 5.0 Kickstarter this June 10th, running through July 11th, and they found a way to deflate prices to pre-pandemic levels without sacrificing their quality brand, in some cases by $200, plus dropping the shipping price by as much as 50%, saving another $100 plus. Go to GameToppersCrowdfunding.com to get a free gift by signing up to be notified when they launch on June 10th to receive a free limited edition print.